Hello, Feng Shui Double Y, Part 2 of the TLK3 idea and TLK2 explanation. As I was going on before, these guys, Kobu, Butani, and Nuka, they have the perfect basis for another famous trio. Because like I said before, we have, like, okay, I'm just gonna say it, I don't really like saying it like this, but like Mega Man, Proto Man, and, okay, just, you guys don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, Rockman, Blues Roll, the three siblings from the Aristocats, and the Animaniacs, the just a lot of them. Like there's always three brothers, and in this case, we got two brothers and a girl. Kind of like the Animaniacs, and that's kind of funny. It's a funny coincidence. So it's like these guys would be like the a merchandise, like in terms of merchandise. You got Disney, you got a famous. You could make these guys into a famous trio, and you don't really have that yet. You kind of had Shenzi, Banzai, and Ed, but you didn't have like a lion trio, and these guys are like the perfect basis. It's kind of like you can compare them to Shenzi, Banzai, and Ed. It's like they're basically the same thing, except they're more significant. They're more important. And the funny thing is, did anybody like just strange coincidences? You notice that Kovu and Nuka, their eye colors, like the way they are, kind of parallels. Obviously, it parallels with Mufasa with Scar, except Mufasa had red eyes. Like that's why Kiara's eyes are red, and Nuka does, because that's his mom. That's something from his mom. And and that's another thing. People just want to like this comment Daniel Rui made, like Kovu was described as an orphan. Let's not get too jumpy about that. People who were even officially did this stuff have made mistakes. Anybody who knows the Double D hat issue, there've been so many theories that an official guy said, but that was an opinion. But some people think it's true, but it's not confirmed. It was an opinion on that, so nobody never knew what was nobody knew what was under his hat. And it's kind of similar like this. We don't know. We at least know like it works perfectly. Like let's not change it. It's like Zira, mother of all three of those kids, that works perfectly. I want to just leave that as it is. I think it works perfectly. But I'm not gonna do anything crappy just because I keep that. I just want to keep that. It just works better. It wouldn't work out any other way for me. Sorry, I don't want to give too much opinion on that. Anyway, like the only comment that Rui made about the confirmation that Zero was an Oscar's mate, that was supported by many people, not just him. And like there was somebody on DeviantArt like, and they're creditable. They're creditable because they worked with somebody who worked on a second film, and they even confirmed that like did she ask, hey, is Nuka Scar's kid? And like, no, that wasn't it. And then she basically did the same explanation Ruri did on Facebook. So that's the real comment I can take into account. Okay, let's leave it at this. Zira, not Scar's mate, just obsessively devoted follower. But now I gotta make a backstory, like how could she have ended up that crazily devoted to that? And another thing is like the main. Let's be honest. The main reason people assume things about Zira, like and her relationship, like to her son. Remember, even if it's an official text, like on the back of the VHS cover, like what they say in books, even though like the so-called creditable sources have made mistakes, and those mistakes haven't really helped. But like this is one of the reasons I want to do the sequel. Got to clear these things up, and we got to stick. I got to stick with an answer. Like we can stick with this answer and hope it to where like it won't get too confusing. Like maybe eliminate 99% of the confusion because there are always those people who won't believe it. Kind of like that idea with Nala. Like we never knew who her dad was, and people would assume like they try to use real world lion stuff, which you don't do in this kind of a film. That's the reason Michael Eisner wanted them to change the whole thing with Kovu and Kiara. Like they changed it to where they weren't related, and basically, so like I don't really want to like we can just leave Nala's father deal as it was just some random like maybe a rogue of some sorts. It makes sense. Like we can just make it to where Nala was her dad was a rogue and we never knew who the guy was. Let's not think that it's something over the top. And that's another thing with the theories. I don't know where this came from, but there was a fan theory quite a while ago. There was these books which they confirmed are not canon to the movies. Like they're not canon. They just aren't. The six new adventures books and Copa had there's this kid named Copa whom supposedly Simba's son, and then people get this random idea over the top of, hey, maybe Zira killed Copa and Vitani fell in love with Copa. What the fuck are you talking about? Where did that come from? Like, well, you can't just throw out random ideas like that. Like, where did that doesn't really make any sense. And people who supposedly try to explain, like, what do you mean? How does that make sense? They're not really using, like, official information. They're just trying to cover up the stupid ballot. I don't like that idea. But there was one thing I noticed. Coppa Vitani. The two names is what sounds appealing, so I decided, oh, okay, let's create a character and we'll name it that guy, but he won't be Simba's son or anything like that. We'll just reuse that name and make a totally different character. They already confirmed that the Lion King books aren't exactly trustworthy, so. And what I did, I created a character named, so I created a character named Copa, and basically, I make it to where obviously he ends up dating that chick, Vitani and everything. And, it's a complicated thing. I don't want to get in depth into that now, but like that's what I did with that. And then people they also assumed there was a relate. Like they tried to give Nuka like they think it's so sad he never got a girl, and they just paired him up with random like Dottie and Spotty or whatever. And I thought at first I was thinking of leaving that as a Dottie character, but just redesigning it. But I thought let's do a different character that looks similar. And I designed a character named Uzuri, who actually has dots on both her eyes. I was gonna give her a backstory later, but I pretty much had the character done. It's like, okay, let's make her his mate or whatever. And another thing, okay, the deal with Kovu is that Kovu, Nuka, and Mitani, like I said before in the previous video, they had share some kind of a bond of sorts. We didn't really see it, but we could tell they shared something together. I mean, they just, you know what that line, like what they did, like Lion King at least, the first film at least, yeah, skipped ahead to when Simba was an adult, but like made it to where they could move forward. They didn't really need a heck of a lot of explaining. Like they get it, okay, like okay, Simba was attached to his dad. His dad died. He was taught to forget the past, and like okay, let's just skip years ahead to when he finally reclaimed the throne. But when the way they did it in Lion King 2 is where it wasn't even halfway through the film. We're gonna automatically just jump years ahead, and we're not gonna explain anything. Are you serious? You didn't say anything about like Kiara, how Kiara really felt about anything. It's like years just passed. That's it. It's like this is the stupid cliche. I'm not using in the Lion King 3. What I plan, I am not gonna do a time skip again. What I'm gonna do is gonna take place in 6 weeks. I was thinking like 6 weeks or a couple months. That's the best. That's as far as I'll go when it comes to time. And I won't really skip ahead too much. And like some people, it's like we want to see a newborn. Like you probably want to see like, hey, we saw a newborn in the first film. We saw that newborn again in the second in the beginning. Let's see a newborn in this one. Okay, I'll show one at the end of the movie. I'm gonna make it to where Nuka gets his girl pregnant. Basically, I thought that'd be interesting because he's the oldest out of the three, so he'd be the first to be a dad. And with age, the whole thing about age is like, let's get an estimate. Kiara is not full grown. Obviously, she may be in a young adult, but she's not really full grown. She's probably like about an 18, 20-year-old. Kobu's probably a couple years ahead of her. Like maybe if they were human, she'd maybe be like 24, 25. Or like, actually like 22, 23 or something. And then like Nuka, he's way older, so he might let me at like 27, 28, like close to 30, but not quite 30. Because he's closer to being full grown, but he isn't either. And and then Vitania, I want to make it to where since they feel similar. It feels like that they hang out a lot. When they were kids, you could tell that they maybe were like that because they were in the same age group and everything, and they were brother and sister. And it's like they're the same height. You can tell that they're the same height and everything. So let's just make them twins. That would be perfect. Let's have them twins, and I make it to where their dad has an eye disorder. Well, I'll explain to you later. He has a green eye, and a blue eye, and it's like that'd be cool. They could represent their dad, and then Nuka could be a representation of his mother. That's a bit of or their mother. It's like it's a bit vague to explain it like that, but I just it makes sense. Okay, 30 seconds left on the clock for the 10-minute limit. So on the next video, I'll keep explaining about this whole thing. Part 3 will explain mostly the new characters and more about the old characters bringing back. Over and out.